So, today we're investigating the hard science behind a practice that, let's be totally honest here, sounds a lot like a toxic positivity platitude. I'm talking about that habit of writing 3 sentences a night about what went well during your day. You know, it sounds exactly like something you'd see cross-stitched on a decorative pillow, right? But here is the wild part. The fascinating truth is that this incredibly simple act is actually one of the most consistently replicated findings in positive psychology over the last 20 years. We're not here for the wellness hype today. Nope, we are going straight to the source material to look at the actual neurobiology, specifically how gratitude physically changes our neural circuits.
Which brings us to the big question. Can 3 little sentences actually rewire your brain? Now, if you're feeling a healthy dose of skepticism right now, honestly, I don't blame you at all. It just seems way too simple to be biologically effective. But we're going to dig into exactly what is genuinely physically happening inside your head when you sit down to reflect. So, to really understand this, we first have to talk about the reward circuit. And here's the thing you have to keep in mind. This isn't just some static, unchangeable part of your brain. It's actually a trainable neural pathway. Thanks to neuroplasticity, when you do repeated mental practices, you literally strengthen your synaptic connections. Over time, you're physically changing how easily this circuit fires up when something good happens. Basically, it starts requiring less and less of a stimulus to trigger that sweet dopamine release. So try to reframe gratitude in your mind. It's not just scribbling in a childhood diary. It's a trainable, repeatable skill for neural rewiring. You're literally teaching your brain to light up more eagerly. And deliberate gratitude practice, it specifically targets those exact neurological mechanisms. In fact, neuroimaging research has shown direct links between gratitude and the brain regions handling reward processing and social bonding. We're talking specifically about dopamine and oxytocin signaling here. So when you practice gratitude, you're essentially taking your brain to the gym. You're giving a highly targeted workout to the exact neurotransmitters that make you feel connected, motivated, and just generally content.
Okay, I want to pause and add a really crucial caveat here, because we need to be intellectually honest. Mapping out the exact underlying neural pathways of gratitude, that's still a very active, ongoing area of research. We absolutely do not have every single micro detail of the neurological map figured out just yet. But, and this is a massive but, while the complex brain mapping is still happening, the behavioral outcomes, meaning the measurable, real-world proof of what actually happens to people when they do this, those are robustly and incredibly well established.
So researchers did this fascinating study where they separated participants into 3 distinct groups over several weeks. Group 1 wrote briefly about things they were grateful for. Group 2 wrote about daily hassles, basically just venting. And Group 3 just wrote about neutral, everyday events. The results? Honestly, they were remarkable. The gratitude group consistently outperformed the hassle and neutral groups across the board. We're talking better self-reported well-being, higher optimism, and get this, even physical metrics like sleep quality. They literally slept better. And remember, this was a super minimal intervention. Just a few minutes of writing a few times a week completely drove these massive, statistically significant advantages.
Because here's the secret. The reason so many of those popularized, trendy versions of gratitude fail comes down entirely to how you actually do it. Look at the huge difference between a specific, detailed entry and a generic, repetitive list. Let's be real for a second. If you're just writing, "I'm grateful for my coffee, my dog, and my house" every single day, well, it's just not doing much. The research is super clear on this. Naming a specific event and really exploring exactly why it mattered absolutely crushes those low-effort, brief lists. The pop culture version just becomes this boring daily chore. But it's that depth, that specificity, that actually triggers the neural reward we mentioned earlier by strengthening those key synaptic connections.
And it turns out that specificity goes even deeper when we look at what we are actually grateful for. Check out the contrast between interpersonal gratitude and circumstantial gratitude. The data consistently shows that gratitude directed at actual people, specifically detailing their impact on your life, has a significantly stronger effect than just being grateful for objects or generic circumstances. This is a massive finding, and it ties perfectly back to those neural changes we talked about. Think about it. When you write about how a specific person helped you, you're actively firing up those social bonding oxytocin circuits. Being grateful for good weather? Yeah, that just doesn't hit the brain the same way.
All right, prepare yourselves for a wildly counterintuitive twist regarding frequency. I know, you've probably been told a million times that to build a habit, you absolutely must do it every single day, no exceptions. But the research actually found that practicing gratitude just a few times a week yields comparable and sometimes even better results than a forced, rigid daily habit. Why? Because when you force it every single day, it risks becoming this automatic, shallow, rote task just to check a box before bed. By doing it just a few times a week, you actually preserve that genuine, unhurried, reflective quality. And that genuine reflection is exactly what drives the neurological effect.
If you want to maximize the neurological benefits, here are the exact steps pulled straight from the literature. Step 1. Prioritize specificity over quantity. Writing 1 or 2 deeply detailed entries is so much more powerful than jotting down 5 generic ones. Name exactly what happened, and more importantly, why it mattered to you. Step 2. Include people. Lean into that interpersonal gratitude whenever it's genuine, because that's what engages those social bonding oxytocin circuits. Name the person, name what they did, and name the impact it had on you. And step 3. Practice just a few times a week. Prioritize genuine reflection over consistency just for the sake of consistency. You don't need some elaborate daily system. You just need a focused, optimized method for real reflection.
Which brings us to the real core takeaway of all this data. It was never about performing positivity. It was always about specific, genuine reflection, practiced consistently enough. And honestly, that is the beauty of this whole thing. The research proves this incredibly simple practice genuinely holds up across multiple behavioral studies and brain imaging research. You don't need to force performative wellness or slap on a fake smile when you're having a bad day. You just need a few genuinely reflective minutes, done specifically and consistently enough to actually matter. It's a remarkably achievable bar for rewiring your brain.
I want to leave you with this one question. What is one specific thing you are genuinely grateful for this week? Seriously, not a generic thing, a specific one. Take a moment right now to reflect on it. Start wiring those neural circuits and see if you can feel the shift. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the fascinating neuroscience behind gratitude journaling, and I'll catch you in our next explainer.